Good morning and welcome to all of you. I am Christina Lawson, the mayor of the city of Walnut Creek, and on behalf of the city of Walnut Creek and the Walnut Creek City Council, I would like to welcome you to Walnut Creek's 2014 Veterans Day ceremony. I am so grateful you could all be here with us to celebrate the servicemen and women who so bravely give their time and their service for all of us. First on our program, we have the presentation of the colors by Scout and Crew Troop 1811, the playing of our national anthem by the Walnut Creek Concert Band, and the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Bob Simmons.
Color guard attention. Audience, please rise. Those in uniform salute. Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. Color guard, cross the colors. Color guard, post the flag of the United States of America. Color guard, post the flag of the great state of California. 2, color guard, honor your colors. Color guard dismissed. Audience, please remain standing. Thank you.
Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Pastor Adrian Singaris of Cornerstone Fellowship, Walnut Creek. Adrian has been the pastor of Cornerstone Fellowship, Walnut Creek since its beginning and was born, raised, and educated in the Bay Area. Cornerstone Fellowship values caring and serving our neighbors in this community. Cornerstone is a community that works hard to care for our families, neighbors, and our world, and the fellowship meets at the Shadelands Art Center on Sunday mornings. Pastor Adrian, if you could please lead us in an invocation, which will then be followed by the Eternal Father, Strong to Save, also known as the Navy hymn performed by the Walnut Creek Concert Band.
Thank you. Would you pray with me? Father God, you are the creator and sustainer of all things. You are sovereign. Thank you for your love for us. Thank you for your favor. Thank you for your grace. Thank you that we are precious to you. We don't always understand that or understand why, but we are so thankful that you love us so much. Lord, today we remember those who gave their youth, their service, their strength, and in some cases their lives. Please help us to honor them well. Remind us that we live in the land of the free because of their courage and sacrifice that they made on our behalf. Thank you that we enjoy our freedoms because of men and women who sacrificially serve our country. Thank you for their bravery. Thank you for their willingness to serve, for the character they show when they put others' needs above their own. Lord, help us to be more like that. Father, we pray for those who have been wounded in body or mind or in their hearts. Restore them, please. Heal them. Use us as their friends, their neighbors, their hometown, and their families to care for them, to support them. Lord, give us courage. Courage not only to defend ourselves, but to do what is right. And give us wisdom to know what is right. Make our leaders wise, make them bold, but Father, also make them compassionate. Give us a hunger for justice and a passion to protect. And Father, please give us all a hope for peace, real peace, and unity. Father, help us to value what you value. Lord Jesus, you said, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. And we thank you for the examples of people willing to make that sacrifice for their country, for us. But also we ask that you would help us to become people willing to sacrifice for others as well. Thank you for men and women who serve and sacrifice. It reminds us of what is good and true in your creation. Father, I ask that you would bless these proceedings, that you would bless this commemoration, and that we would honor well those who have served. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Adrian, for your inspiring words, and thank you to Scout Troop and Crew 1811 for your presentation of the colors, and as always, thank you to the Walnut Creek Concert Band for their rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. I also want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Bob Simmons for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me take this brief opportunity to introduce my other esteemed colleagues on the City Council and the other dignitaries we have here with us today. Councilmember Loella Haskew from the City Council, Councilmember and former Mayor Cindy Silva, of course, Mayor Pro Tem Bob Simmons, who you met earlier. County Supervisor Karen Mitchoff is here with us. Assemblywoman Susan Bonilla is here as well. I understand that we may have Assembly Member-elect Catherine Baker with us here as well in the audience. In the audience, we also have Jonathan Uriarte representing Senator Mark DeSaulnier, our future congressman. Lori Byers is here representing Supervisor Candace Anderson, and Christy Stanker is here representing Assemblywoman Joan Buchanan. And also, please join me in welcoming former Mayor Gwen Regalia, who's here with us as well, right here in the front row. Thank you to all of those dignitaries who took time out of their day today to share it with us here in Walnut Creek. The service members that we honor today came from all walks of life, but they shared several fundamental qualities. They possessed courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity, all the qualities needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. Many of them didn't ask to leave their homes to fight on distant battlefields. Many of them didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways during extreme times. They rose to a nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given them, and all of us, so much. Since the first shots at Lexington and Concord were fired and our Revolutionary War began, American men and women have been answering the nation's call to duty. Millions of Americans have fought and died on battlefields here and abroad to defend our freedoms and our way of life. Today, our troops continue to make the ultimate sacrifices, and even as we lose troops, more Americans step forward to say, "I'm ready to serve." They follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans. Veterans Day, of course, was originally called Armistice Day, was designated as a day to celebrate the end of World War I. The First World War ended on November 11th, 1918, with a ceasefire on the Western Front at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. In honor of that ceasefire, legislation that created Veterans Day was, and I quote, "dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be hereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day." As time went on and we engaged in further conflicts during World War II and Korea, veterans groups lobbied for a change. Rather than honoring the armistice and only those who served in World War I, the holiday would now honor all veterans from every war and conflict the United States had encountered. We've honored our troops and their service and sacrifice ever since. Ceremonies like ours here in Walnut Creek are held today in thousands of communities across the country. These ceremonies acknowledge and pay tribute to the United States veterans for their commitment to our nation and for their personal sacrifices so that we as a nation and as a people may remain free. We are grateful to our veterans for their service to their country, and through this ceremony wish to honor them and communicate to all of our local veterans that each one of them is incredibly important to us. We're here today to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and to say thank you for their sacrifices. Thinking of the heroes who join us in this group today, and those who are here only in spirit, a person can't help but feel awed by the enormity of what we encounter. We stand in the midst of patriots and the family and friends of those who have nobly served. Thank you. Tremendous performance by the Walnut Creek Concert Band. I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker today, Lieutenant Colonel Matt Shortal. Matt is a graduate of the University of Illinois and was commissioned an officer in the U.S. Marine Corps in 1994. He attended flight school and has been an FA-18 fighter pilot for the last 20-plus years. During that time, he graduated from the Naval Fighter Weapons School, Top Gun, has flown 37 missions in combat, served a tour with the U.S. Navy Blue Angels as the U.S. Marine Corps representative. In 2004, he was selected as the Marine Corps Aviator of the Year. He continues to serve in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserves as the commanding officer of VMU-4. In addition, Matt is the aviation and military expert for the TV show Pawn Stars on the History Channel. And finally, he works as a director in financial services. We are very pleased that he made time for us here in Walnut Creek on this important day. Please join me in welcoming Lieutenant Colonel Matt Shortal.
Thank you, Christina, for the kind introduction. It's a pleasure and honor to be here with you this morning. I'd first like to thank Jennifer Wan in the back for organizing this and setting up this whole day and for reaching out and giving me the invite. I'd also like to recognize Harvey, wherever you went. There he is. So thanks for making this a special event with your band. I look forward to hearing the Marines hymn when you guys play that. Now, I want to clarify one part of Christina's introduction. I heard a few chuckles in the crowd. I'm on the TV show Pawn Stars. That's P-A-W-N, Pawn Stars. We are a family show, and we are on the History Channel. So, we were the #1 show on TV, and some guys at Duck Dynasty with beards passed us up. So, but we're hanging in there. Now, I promised Christine and Jennifer that I'd keep my comments short today. So I know there's some veterans in the crowd. One of the biggest benefits of being a veteran are all the free meals on Veterans Day. So I have scouted out 2 Applebee's and 1 Chuck E. Cheese within 10 miles of the Lesher Center. So I got a busy day ahead of me. Brett, we're going there. So I would like to start off by recognizing the veterans in the crowd. So I know we'll play the music medley later for all the services, and that's a highlight of this service. But I want to recognize the veterans, see who's here, and I kind of changed my speech a little bit to recognize them. So as Christina mentioned, Veterans Day originally started off as Armistice Day in recognition of World War I. Obviously, most of those veterans have died off. If there is somebody here from World War I want to meet you, because you're doing something right. But let's start off with World War II, and if you're in that era, please stand. If you can't stand, please just raise your hand or somebody with you recognize them. Do we have anybody from World War II here? I think we have a gentleman here in the 3rd row. That's more than I expected. We had a few gentlemen up top, so part of the greatest generation. Next, and I know we have one, do we have any Korea-era veterans out there? We have one wearing his fighter pilot jacket in the back, so I like that. And then as we move on, if you're somewhere near that era, just please stand. And I see Bob. Bob's a Marine, so we're going to talk afterwards here in the 2nd row. Any Vietnam era veterans? 60s, 70s? Thank you. How about as we move on to late 80s, 90s, Desert Storm in there. My good friend Kevin Sanchez. And then Moving on to post-2000, we got our OEF, OIF, so Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Iraq. Any of those veterans in here? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that. It is important that we recognize and remember the veterans, but there's also another integral group that sometimes is forgotten. That is the families of these veterans. They make sacrifices. Many of them have moved a lot. In my 15 years, I moved over 10 times, and that doesn't count all the moves within each city. In addition, they do not see their loved ones for long periods of time as they go on deployments, sometimes in harm's way. Just in the last year, we have responded to crisis in the Philippines, South Sudan, Libya, and Iraq. In Afghanistan, we remain engaged in combat operations. It can be a long and lonely life. Let's take a moment to recognize the families of the men and women in service. You can stand. She's a mom. Now, the Blue Angels were started in 1946. Our mission is twofold. Number one, enhance Navy and Marine Corps recruiting. And number two, showcase naval aviation. Now, all of us that joined the Blue Angels, and I'll kind of specifically tailor my comments to the 6 fighter pilots that fly the 6 jets, we're all just regular Navy and Marine Corps fighter pilots. We come from the fleet. We were in the right place at the right time to get picked for those 6 slots. And I will clarify one item here. I know there's some Navy uniforms in the crowd. I am a Marine officer. U.S. Navy Blue Angels are obviously a Navy team. There's always one Marine Corps officer in that team, and my job is to keep those guys in line, basically. So, you know, we could talk about it after, but keep those guys in line, keep them regulated, and it's a pretty cool tradition we have with one Marine fighter pilot on the team. I joined the team in 2004, and I served until the end of 2006. Most of us had been to Top Gun, the Naval Fighter Weapons School, which is our graduate degree program. And then in fact, all of us had flown in Iraq or Afghanistan. Our original team in 1946 was comprised of World War II veterans. Naval aviators like Lieutenant Commander Butch Voris, Lieutenant Mel Cassidy, flying the F-6F Hellcat, a classic aircraft. During the Korean War, due to a shortage of pilots and aircraft, the Blue Angels actually disbanded and formed the Corps of VF-191, better known as Satan's Kittens, flying in Korea off the USS Princeton. Blue Angel pilots also served honorably in Vietnam. Pilots like Admiral Christensen and Admiral Maslowski. Sadly, Commander Harley Hall, who just 2 years earlier commanded the Blue Angels, was shot down on the last day of the Vietnam War and was declared the last POW of the Vietnam War. He was never recovered and was presumed killed in action in 1980. My dad was also a Vietnam veteran, having flown over 300 combat missions in the F-4 Phantom as a Marine fighter pilot. I know some of them were not very well received when they came back. I think that's a travesty, and I'm glad to be a part of this ceremony this morning, recognizing them. Blue Angels continued to serve in combat operations in Desert Storm and Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, so Afghanistan and Iraq. I flew in the kickoff of our Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. My squadron, VMFA AW-225, the Vikings, was deployed to Ahmed Al-Jaber Air Base in Kuwait, about 12 miles from the Iraqi border. We came back to Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego in May of 2003, after toppling the 4th largest army in the world in about 19 days. There was much fanfare at Miramar as we're the first fighter squadron home for the Marine Corps. All the families, friends, the band was there, government officials were all there. Supposedly Arnold Schwarzenegger was supposed to be there, but I could not find the Terminator. But as we looked around and we shut down the jets, all the canopies went up, the families came running out. The first one to get to me was my dad, and you know, obviously a special moment, and I had only wished that he had received the same reception that he got when he came back from Vietnam. Now, the Blue Angels, we fly about 35 air show sites throughout the country from March to November. The flying is great, and believe it or not, it's probably the easiest part of our job. After the canopy goes down on startup, my job is to fully focus and fly the best demonstration I can for the next 40 minutes. For the first year, I flew number 3, so if you think of number 1 leading, you got 2 on the right, 3 here. I flew right here and basically had a wing in my face for about 40 minutes. Sole job, don't hit number 1. The next year, it got a little easier. I flew down into number 4, and number 4 is the guy in the middle. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It gets a little more exciting because I can actually see forward and I can see mountains and buildings. And I know a lot of folks have seen the San Francisco Air Show, which is in all reality our favorite air show. It's at the end of the season, we're flying close. We usually come out here Columbus Day, perfect weather, and we're all golfers. So there's some pretty cool courses, some little dog track called Cypress Point down in Pebble Beach, and Olympic Club, San Francisco, so we get to kind of get out and see the sights. And if you look at the flying, you've got Alcatraz, you've got downtown, the Golden Gate Bridge, and out over the water, it's actually really smooth. So one of our favorite cities as we come here. After we land, that's when things get really busy. We go around and we meet folks all around the country. So from meeting a 7-year-old at an air show at the Crowd Line in Nebraska to meeting the President of the United States in the Oval Office. We had 37 minutes with President Bush in the Oval Office and got to learn the history of the White House and the Oval Office and actually picking up the actual plates from Lincoln's era and all that. So it was a pretty neat experience. As a fellow veteran and aviator, we also got to trade some aviation stories, and it all seems that the further we get away, the better they get. So yeah, he had a few good ones there. At an air show in Jacksonville, Florida, I'll never forget meeting the Tuskegee Airmen, made famous by the movie Red Tails. So what they went through, their trials and tribulations, and what they were able to accomplish was amazing. It was really neat to sit down, interact, and hear their stories. At these air shows, we also have former Blue Angels that will come out to hang out with the team and say hello. So as we retire, move all around the country, they'll pick 1 or 2 show sites around the country and come out and say, we let them in the brief, and it's great to hear their stories, interact, see what it was like flying in their era, what their challenges were. They flew different aircraft, so we do different maneuvers, and to see what they're doing and see that legacy passed on, and they're just like us. I'd like to end my comments today talking about today's veterans, and I see some young veterans out in the crowd, those that are just getting out of active service. I ended my military career in 2008 on the active duty side and transitioned to the reserves. So I'm kind of in the gray area, but I am still very familiar with those who are getting out of active or reservist service right now. As a current commanding officer of a squadron, I interview every Marine and sailor that is getting out of my squadron. I want you to know that they have a support network to help them transition as they make that move from active or reserve service. There's a mandatory week-long class that they go through where we discuss resumes, job opportunities, education benefits, college, etc., what we're all working on, VA benefits. We try to schedule this a year out so they can get all this information and then hit the ground running when they hit their civilian job career or education. Our leadership is engaged with them to make sure they have a plan. We even have a program in the Marines called Marine for Life, where we have reservists stationed all throughout the country to help them as they transition to their local hometown or whether they go to a new city to either network, get a job, or finish their education. Our sister services have similar programs. I served in this program, and we had multiple networking events at Marines Memorial in downtown San Francisco and throughout other locations here in NorCal. In Silicon Valley, there's been a huge effort to attract veterans to the tech industry. I live down in Palo Alto, so I attend a lot of events at Stanford and other places. I've been to multiple events at venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz where we'll bring in CEOs like Dick Costello from Twitter or John Donahoe from eBay, and they'll just sit down, talk to the veterans. What are your challenges? What do you need to help us target and get them into good jobs? In regards to education, and we saw we have several World War II veterans here, they had the Montgomery GI Bill. So that was, United States looking out for them as they came out of that World War II and made that transition. The new 9/11 post-GI Bill discards the outdated Montgomery GI Bill and makes it the largest investment in our veterans since World War II. It covers the full cost of an undergraduate education at any public university or college in the country. It provides upfront tuition payments directly to the school, a monthly living allowance, and a book stipend. There's also a yellow ribbon program to help with private schools and graduate programs costing more than that state cap. So think Stanford. I've had several friends finish their degrees at undergraduate at Stanford or go to the GSB, the Graduate School of Business, and finish there. Now, the VA has been under fire lately here in the press, and I'm here to tell you the VA is doing a good job. Can they do better? Of course, we all can. Even in the Blue Angels, we never flew the perfect air show. I read some articles in the Wall Street Journal and other publications, and it makes me cringe a little bit. I think some folks are looking for a story. In addition, some veterans need to take ownership and make sure they're doing their part. I get my physical here in San Francisco at the VA, so right over by Land's End, and it's the best physical I've ever had. I get in, I get out, I get great service. Each hospital also has an OEF, OIF coordinator to help those young veterans navigate the VA, because it can be somewhat of a bureaucracy. Just this last summer, I needed to update my address and my dependent, reached out to the coordinator, he had it done in less than a day. So all the resources are there. At times, it's a matter of the veteran doing their due diligence and taking ownership. Finally, as you leave today, I'm assigning everyone a mission. So we're all going to be a fighter pilot heading out of here. I want you to reach out to a veteran. It could be a family member, relative, coworker, or a neighbor. Thank them for their service. Let them know you're thinking of them. This also goes for the veterans. On the drive over from Palo Alto this morning, I called my dad. I thanked him for his 30 years of service. I thanked him for being my dad, and I told him I loved him. Thank you. Semper Fidelis. I'm off to Applebee's.
No soldiers choose to die. It's what they risk by being who and where they are. It's what they dare while saving someone else whose life means suddenly as much to them as theirs, or more. To honor them, why speak of duty or the will of governments? Think first of love each time you tell their story. It gives their sacrifice a name, and it takes from war its glory. A special thank you to Lieutenant Colonel Shortal for being here with us today, and we are very grateful for your service and for your family's service as well. Thank you. At the original Armistice Day, there was a minute of silence for those who had fought in the Great War, and a minute of silence for their family and friends who also experienced loss during the war. We want to thank all of the veterans and their families who are here with us today for their service to our country. Please join me in observing 1 minute of silence to honor all of those who have fought for our country and continue to fight for our freedom. Thank you. Now, the Walnut Creek Concert Band will perform a very special part of our ceremony, one that I know we look forward to each year, the Armed Forces Salute, in which each branch of the service is recognized with their own military song. We invite veterans to stand and sing along when your branch is reviewed. Wow, thank you, Harvey, and to all the Walnut Creek Concert Band members. I always enjoy the tremendous amount of pride and patriotism we all feel together when they perform that. Before the Walnut Creek Concert Band concludes our ceremony with Bullets and Bayonets March by John Philip Sousa, I would again like to express my appreciation to our keynote speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Shortal, Pastor Adrian Singaris from the Cornerstone Fellowship, Scout Troop and Crew 1811 for the presentation of the colors, and again Harvey Benstein and the Walnut Creek Concert Band, and of course all of my colleagues and all of you who joined us here today to honor our military service veterans. Your presence here today and that of the people gathering all across America is a tribute to those lost troops and to their families. It's a way to say we remember all of you that have served. From the soldiers who shivered and starved through the winter at Valley Forge, to the doughboys crouched in the muddy trenches of France, to the platoons who patrolled the hazy jungles of Vietnam, and to the young men and women patrolling the mountains of Afghanistan and across the Middle East, we remember and honor them all. Thank you for attending today. God bless you and your families. God bless our troops, and God bless America. And most especially, thank you for honoring us with your presence at this very special Veterans Day celebration here in Walnut Creek. Would the crew please come forward to retire the colors?
Attention. Will the audience please rise? Color guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. Scout salute. Please put your right hand over your heart if you are not in uniform. Color guard, retrieve the colors. Color guard, return to ranks. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. 2. Audience, thank you for joining us today.
Nice to meet you. I saw you reading your book earlier.
Really? Oh, please come.
This is Jennifer. Thank you. How you doing, sir, man? Oh, you're right.
Y'all trying to get by? Oh, yeah. All right. That was good. 3 of them years, yeah. Littlest one's in preschool. He wouldn't have made it. That'll be.